All right, this is episode 27 of the Stephen Bones Everything podcast, and today I got a special guest. Yes, I'm talking to people finally. All right, I don't know how to socialize, so this is the best way. I'm making effort. I'm trying, and today I've got a good friend, Sim Tong.
Hi guys.
Yep, hi. We pretend like there's an audience, right?
No,
But
it's the Stephen Bones Everything audience, which is good.
Which is one crazy guy in a cave pretending he's Iron Man.
Right.
So, okay, first off, happy belated birthday. I got a little cake
thank
for
you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Actually, Sim Tong's seen this cake already. And he did this thing that, you shouldn't have to. And I was like, well, I already did. So, don't make it a complete waste.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Got a
This
candle.
is lovely.
Just like,
Right.
okay, I got a good jet lighter thing going on.
Even gonna light it.
No, you can hear it. Yeah.
All
Oh,
right. Okay.
that was surprisingly brutal though.
Woo.
Right, so Sim Tong's happy belated birthday, Sim Tong, from all of us here at Stephen Bones Everything, which is just me.
Thank you. Hope this podcast goes well.
Right, and that's the best we can hope for. Right. Okay, so Sim, we know each other from like the stand-up comedy circuit.
Yep.
Right. I joined like a couple years ago. How long have you been in the scene already?
Coming up to 8 years now. Doesn't seem like it because
Dang, 8
I
years.
still kind of suck, but yeah.
You're good. You're good.
No, thank you.
But you also recently started your own like podcast as well, right?
Yeah, January.
January, all right.
Yeah. Actually, I told myself like, I was really inspired by your podcast. I've been following, I've been listening to every episode, and
I'm sorry.
no, it's been great. I really enjoy it, and so I told myself, this is great. I'm gonna do something similar.
Yeah.
So I did, and actually, in January I was still kind of procrastinating.
Mm-hmm.
So I told myself, you know what? It's January 30th. I told myself, like, this is one of my New Year resolutions.
Yeah.
If I don't do it by today or by tomorrow, then
Chinese New Year is on the horizon.
right. I'm never gonna do it, right?
Yeah. It's kind of a bit like how I started as well. I distinctly remember that I really wanted to do a podcast as well. There was no New Year's resolution thing in mind, but it's just like, okay, I know I want to do this. I don't know what I want to talk about. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what it's supposed to be. I don't have anything planned. But I just know I want to do it. One night I was just up all night, and I couldn't sleep. And I think it was like 2 or 3 in the morning. And I was like, just do one thing, just
Right.
switch on the mic, hit record, and just bleh
Right.
for whatever, and just put it out there, and then done.
Right.
So like on that night, I think I created like my Podbean account and everything. Didn't have a name, whatever. Did like 5-7 minutes.
Yeah.
You
Same.
know? Yeah, right.
Yeah,
And there's no rhyme or reason to it, right? It's that we call it an introduction, but it's just us trying to get the ball rolling,
Right.
Right. And that thing suddenly became like what? Now is like this is 27, 28?
27th episode.
And only from 26 did I start bringing people in.
Yeah.
Yeah, previously it was just me.
I'm on my 3rd episode. I hope I make it to 26 or 27, and then at least I'll feel a bit safer. Now I still feel a bit shaky. It's like, am I gonna still have content next week? I don't know. Yeah.
And your format is quite similar to what I was doing, which is like just
This is what's been happening this week, right? Yeah.
Just Chinese guys screaming to the dark abyss, I call it.
Yeah. So basically, actually, I basically just thought like, Steven's doing this, and he's been talking about like what he's doing, what he's looking forward to, and I thought like, well, it's really liberating.
Yeah.
So I thought like, well, I could do something like that.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't seem too hard. Although I'm pretty sure like there are technical aspects that I haven't really like even learned. I just
but
just put it on.
it really is as simple as having a recorder, hit record, and just go. Right? It really, when you really boil it down to its essence, it really is just that. And because I remember distinctly you mentioning that you wanted to do a podcast as well for the longest time. Like this was sometime last year.
Right.
And I was like, just go for it, man. And I could see it working so well because you you clearly have very distinct thoughts and viewpoints, right? As a comedian, and as like daily life, like you're a family man, right? You've got a son. You got a son. How old's your son?
12.
12, right?
Yeah.
So that is just a scary age for me because they're
Yeah.
just like they're like going into this. They're developing fast. But the next phase is going to be that when they go into hyperdrive and everything goes
Right,
nuts,
right.
right? Hormones start kicking in, the universe starts spinning, right? And right before that, a few years prior, you just came out of the other hole, right? Of like that other
Yeah,
development
yeah.
phase.
Yeah, worried about them when they're growing up. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the dynamic that you tell on stage about you and your wife and all that, I was like, this guy has... You have a story, you have a
Right.
viewpoint, right?
In fact, I find that I'm enjoying the podcast now because it has given me this place where I could just talk about things that are not necessarily funny enough to be jokes.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm like, okay, I want to talk about this thing, and then I'm not sure whether it's funny enough to be a joke.
Yeah.
And then when I try to write it, when I bring a notebook and try to write it as a joke, there's so much pressure to turn it into a joke that sometimes it's a bit disingenuous.
Right, you're
Whereas-
trying to go. All right, okay.
Where's the
so,
punchline,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
today I was at the supermarket. I saw this thing. It was really screwed up. And then that's what triggers you to sit down. But then when you start writing, you're like, knock knock. And you go into that weird phase, like you're like, oh, and then you're just sitting there like, and after like 3 hours of writing, you've got knock knock. Who's there? That's it, and that's your career.
That's pretty much our lives, right?
Yeah. Like you, for myself, I started this podcast because I came to realize that okay, like with stand up, it's a lot about just it's communications, right? Essentially, like comedy and all that is basically a form of communication, and especially with stand up, it's not really. It's kind of a two-way communication because the audience reacts and all that, but realistically speaking, it's kind of very one-way-ish as well.
Yeah.
Because you're the comedian, you just keep broadcasting your thoughts onto
That's
other
right,
people,
that's
right?
right. Yeah.
Hoping to get a reaction from
Yeah.
them. But in the pursuit of getting that material, it's really hard. Like our minds have to churn out a lot. You know, it's mining lah, right? So
yeah.
I felt like doing the podcast. One, it was something very therapeutic for me because it just whatever was bugging you or whatever thoughts that you went through your head,
Yeah.
you just dump it out. There's no, like you said, no pressure of making a joke. There's no pressure of like turning it into some like full on production or drama or turning it into gold or whatever. You just dump it out and just leave it there, right? So I find like great value in that, but at the same time, I think we've all heard like Bill Burr's podcast, right? Which is
Oh yeah.
the pinnacle of crazy guys screaming into the dark abyss.
Yes.
And he does that thing where like, okay, he's doing this podcast. He's complaining about sports and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, when you watch his stand-up special, you're like, oh gosh.
That's the same person,
That's the
right?
same person, and the bits are there.
He's not being someone else. He's not like, maybe the crowd would like this if I
Yeah.
take this point of view. No, he's just like, no, this is my point of view. I'm not going to change it.
Yeah, and he has that thing where like, you listen to the podcast and you're like, oh, I've heard him explore this idea on the podcast, but now it's come out as like a finished
Yeah.
piece
Yeah.
or a finished bit, you know, when he does his stand-up. So I find it quite amazing.
Yeah. I find that the podcast, it's like, I feel a bit more complete now because like now I have this other avenue that I could explore this other thoughts. I found that to be like a gap. I was like, okay, I could talk to my wife, I could talk to my kid, I could talk to my friends, and then I could also
Talk to God.
not really
Right.
because I don't have one. But I
I'm thinking that later. Alright.
yeah. But I and then I could do jokes, right?
Yeah.
But I couldn't really like explore something that like, oh, maybe there's this thing I want to talk about, but I can't tell my wife about this because she'll take it the wrong way. You know, I can't talk.
Yeah.
Or I want to complain about parenting. I can't really talk to my kid about this because I'm complaining about parenting. I don't want him to hear about this.
Yeah, exactly.
So with the podcast now, I have this other avenue, and it's different from. I guess you could just do the same thing with writing if you write a blog or if you write a book.
Yeah,
or
what we're
something.
doing is like
But-
basically what people used to do with like journals and diaries, right? Like
Yeah.
men would call them journals, but
Yeah.
they were diaries.
That's right.
They were diaries.
But
yeah.
I also find like sometimes I'm not as good as at writing. If I sit down and I say, okay, here's the idea, write it out in words, I'm not that good at that anymore. I find that if I just talk to people, it comes out easier.
I think it's that direct connection, or maybe I don't want to say because your mouth is closer to your brain, lah. You know, because that sounds like in a way kind of stupid, right? Like, not in a way, it does sound.
But it is true.
It's true. But I do think that it's the fact that for most people, speaking is the easiest form of communication.
Yeah.
Right? Like writing is something that, okay, if you want to be able to write, like just think and just write, I think that takes a considerable amount of effort in getting used to that.
Right.
To writing, you know, so that it becomes like second nature, you know, like you build that connection between your brain and your arm. Again, I'm not a scientist, I'm just, alright, but I think for most of us, you know, who are able to speak and all that, speaking is the easiest way to get things out, right?
Right.
And it's not like when you write with your hand, there's no to get that filter of like, before I write it down, I want to think about it first. To get rid of that, it's so hard. Mm-hmm. But from the brain to the mouth, it's so easy.
I think that there's also the pressure because like when you're writing, there's like you can write and then you could rewrite it and then it's supposed to be good, right? Because you have, if you show someone something that you have written and it's just a pile of nonsense, they're like, oh wow, you spent time writing this, you know. Whereas if you're just talking to the person and something comes out and it's not like your brightest thought,
they're like, Sim, you need to stop smearing your crap on the walls.
Right, you're just like, oh sorry, sometimes I'm an idiot, you know, and it's okay. Lately I've been kind of separating like how I think of like open mics with like other comedy shows like weekend shows or like the gig I'm doing tonight. Tonight I'm gonna be at the Fuel Shack. I'm with Gajen.
Which Fuel Shack is
Fuel Shack in Lau Yat Plaza. Yeah, so it's Gajen's gig. I'm gonna be there opening for
Gajen and so Gajen is headlining, right?
Gajen's gonna be hosting, and then Prakash is gonna be headlining.
Cool.
Yeah.
So any other acts in the lineup?
Just the three of us.
Just the three of you guys.
Yeah. So I've been thinking like I try to separate it. Like open mics, nowadays I'm trying this thing where if I go to an open mic, I tell myself I'm not a comedian.
Okay.
Like even though they say, oh, your next guy, he's really funny, he's been doing it for years, he's a very funny comedian. But in my brain, I tell myself, I'm a storyteller. I have a story to tell today, and this is the story I'm gonna tell, and I'm gonna get it out there.
Yeah.
And in that way, I kind of take off some of the pressure. I still have some punchlines planned, but at the same time, it's like, okay, if the punchline density isn't that high, it's okay. I got the story out there. I can explore it a little bit, and.
But where are you at? I would say kind of mentally as a comedian. Are you at that stage where like you're comfortable, like you recognize a joke when you see it. You're able to create a joke when need be or spot one, but that you're at that stage where like, no, I want to turn all these like one-liners and all that, and I want to focus on storytelling as opposed to joke telling. I mean, joke telling is part of it, but it's just that, okay, joke telling you kind of have the mechanics locked down, so now you want to explore the storytelling part. Is that where you are at, or?
I feel like there are things I want to explore. Like this, like if I find a situation like interesting or weird, I'm like, this is weird. Let's explore this.
Yeah.
And I think there's something there, and then I would try to ask myself like, what is weird? What is the whole premise of this whole thing? And then I would try to communicate that. And if I fail, then I fail trying, right?
Yeah.
Whereas I don't want to be driven by the funny. In the sense that like, oh, I will go anywhere and I'll do anything to get a laugh. And I think I tried that in the past and I didn't really like it. I hated myself.
Because some people, they try that and that's the thing that they love the most. And they decide it works.
And it works great for other people. I don't want to put anyone down for it. But like for me, I tried it in the past and sometimes I'd be like serious and I'm like talking about something that is real, and then in the middle of my story, just because I want to get another punchline in there, another laugh in there, then in the middle of my story there's a talking dog, you know. It's like people are looking at me like, what the hell is this guy on, you know. And now I'm trying to be a bit more consistent.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. Like keeping grounded, because you come off like a very level-headed, grounded guy, right? Yeah. Okay. Speaking of being like a level-headed, grounded guy, you're okay. Like in the comedy scene, lah, you're known as like the senior. Not
the senior junior.
Yeah, the senior. Yeah, kind of that way. Because like in terms of age, you are like more advanced than us, lah. You've been there, done that. So why get into it? Because okay, how old were you when you got into?
I was 41,
and now you're
and I just turned 49.
Turned 49, right? So the big 50 coming up. So, 40. Okay,
41 is pretty advanced.
Yeah, I mean, age is not a barrier for sure.
If you're looking at it as a career, it's like 41 is too late. It's like
I wouldn't say that. Yeah. There's still a chance, right? But yeah, if you're looking, if you're looking at monetizing, like
you could say like, okay, I'm gonna. If you have like a career plan, a lot of things is gonna be against you if you're in your 40s or
especially when you have like a wife and kids and commitments and those kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. And also opportunities.
Yeah,
because like I think like I don't know, in one of the interviews, I think like Steve Martin, he was talking about when he got into when he was hired to work on Saturday Night Live or something like that. I think he was like he was seen as old already, and they were
How
looking
old was
for.
he that time?
And he was like in his early 30s or something.
Oh gosh, okay, yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, in the States, I think like
so they're looking for like the mantra is like you gotta be young, but at the same time he's so talented. Like they hired him anyway. But like I could be getting this all wrong. It could be somebody totally different. And it's not a Saturday Night Live.
No, but like
show.
I think most people some people say that in your 20s you have the energy to just do stupid stuff, but you don't have the knowledge to like stay focused and put something into practice, right? And in your 30s, some people start to settle into a certain rhythm, while some like myself, because of like getting married and having children and all that, and commitments, right? Suddenly you're like, oh no, I got to find something else to like, you know, like to diversify, or I need to like really figure out the future, right?
Right.
And you're in this balance where like, you have the energy, you have the motivation, because it's either you go and do it or you might end up not sending your kids to school, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But in your 40s, I would imagine like things start to stabilize, because okay, whatever you did in your 20s and 30s, hopefully you would have start bear fruit by then.
Right.
And in your 40s, you just, you know, start like keeping that ship afloat, and I would imagine that there will be quite a lot going on. So venturing out into something completely new, especially in a performing art like comedy, most people would get into like start another business, or I don't know, like start buying another property and do like another Airbnb or something like that. But you decided to go into comedy.
It was
what was that?
There was just you could say that I didn't look at it as like, oh, okay, like, is this something that I can grow into a career?
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty privileged in that sense that I don't have to I don't have to look at it as as something that I needed to count on financially to work out. So I just explored it just as something like a hobby or an art.
Yeah.
So I did that, and and I find that it's liberating, but at the same time I also felt like it is still, when you bomb, it's still not a nice feeling. You're still trying to build that.
But I think with comedians, the general healthy mindset for comedians, okay, when you bomb, it feels bad, but but deep down you understand that it's part of the growth. It's part of the process, right? So like you don't just bomb and then just feel bad and just get over it. You have to actually like, figure out, okay, what happened? Why?
Right.
How do I not get this again? Right? It's a harsh lesson to learn. Right?
I think maybe all comedians who, or all open micers who last more than a year, there's something wrong with them. There's something compulsive
Yeah.
about them, you know.
Yeah.
So like they have this like unhealthy curiosity maybe,
Yeah.
where they need to figure something out. So even when they bomb, they're like, okay, that didn't work out. You know, what happened? And then they'll try to dissect that.
Yeah, figure out, like, dig for the black box and try to, figure out what happened, right? But again, like, coming into comedy at 41, how was the scene like for you? Were they like, was everyone taken aback when you joined? Because
No,
like it sometimes it does feel a little bit like a young man's
Yeah.
playground kind of thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think at that point, it was a very young scene. There was only one weekly open mic show, which was one mic stand.
Ah, okay.
At the time, it was run by
Rizal, yeah.
Rizal Van Gazel, and Kevin J.
Yeah.
Kevin. So at that point, they were just happy to take anyone, and they were like, we were like the goof troop, you know.
Yeah.
We were like this. I was the old guy, and then there was like some people were like young.
Yeah.
And we were all trying all kinds of things. We were just like a really mixed bunch who were just in this weird thing together. And because it was so weird, nobody really paid attention to who is out of place and who is
Yeah.
not. So yeah, I didn't really felt like I was really like out of place.
Okay.
It was kind of really welcoming because we were all trying to figure this one thing out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And back then, like I think like when you're new, you don't know that you're not good. And in a sense, it's like that's the defense mechanism
Yeah,
that you
exactly.
have, and it's great, you know.
Yeah.
Because I look back at my videos and I thought like, oh, I did well at this show, and I did well at this show. And I listen back to the recordings, I look back at the videos, I'm like, oh my god, I only got like 2 laughs.
I thought I tore the place down.
Yeah. Because the host will bring you on and they'll tell the crowd that you're new, and then every little joke that you try, they're gonna laugh, they're gonna be supportive, right? And then after you get off stage, everybody high fives you and like, yeah, you did it, man. And then like, give it up for Sim, you know. You really
you feel like you just won
Yeah.
like the World Cup, right? you just
Right.
won. You scored the winning goal in the World Cup,
Right.
And then suddenly when you watch back, you're like, oh no, I scored. I got the ball.
That's right.
I touched the ball. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a participation trophy.
I assisted the assistant.
The assistant. But what prompted you to, like, okay, it's one thing to get into it at the age of 41. It's another thing that it's a performing art. And it's another thing that it was such an obscure thing. What prompted you to, like, go out and seek this? Was it like a phase you were going through your life where, like, you wanted to discover something new? Did something trigger that? Or
Yeah.
was it just this thing like, oh, I've always wanted to do this? And what was it like?
I always thought I couldn't do it. Because I watch people and they're on stage and they're making all these observations, and I'm like, wow, how did they come up with this, right? This is like way out there. Like, how did they even get to this thought? And I'm like, wow, these people are either specially talented or they're special in some way. And I thought like, I could never do that, right? How did, like, I watched very little comedy at first, but I always was really amazed by it. It's like magicians, right?
Yeah.
They do this thing, and I'm like, wow, how did they do that? I don't know how they did that, but then as I watch more, like if you watch, like at that point I was watching like Seinfeld, and on his sitcom,
Yeah.
you see him sitting there on the desk writing joke in front of the computer, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's how they do it. It's like a whole process,
Yeah.
right? And then I was really hungry for comedy. I was actually, my dad was ill at that time, and I was spending a lot of time at his house just making sure he was okay.
Yeah.
And he was a really easy guy to take care of, but at the same time, I was just there for hours, basically doing nothing.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'll go
Because
on
you're
the
just there
computer.
in case, right?
Right.
Yeah, you're just there in case something happens, yeah.
So I was there, watching YouTube videos. And one of the things that I kind of got into was like, oh, okay, what else can I watch now? Okay, there's like YouTube videos on how to do this thing, how to build a table, how to how to catch a rat with a mineral water bottle or something like that.
yeah.
And then I came on to comedy. I'm like, oh, okay, oh yeah, there is this thing called stand-up comedy that I totally forgot about. And by that time, there were quite a lot on YouTube. Probably not very legal for people to put them on there, but they're on there. So
Hey man, that new media comes along, no copyrights, man, no copyright laws. Yeah, new media, new platform,
I don't know.
Wild West.
I don't know. Some of it was legal. Some of it probably not. I don't know.
I think some of it made people's careers.
Yeah,
you know,
actually,
it's like how pirated DVDs, as much as they were the scourge of the entertainment industry,
think you're right.
It gave us so much.
I think you're right. I think
movies that would have never made it here.
Like Joe Rogan, I think he got really famous because that's that video of him like just laying it into a colorless Mancia.
Yeah, right? Stuff like that. Yeah,
yeah,
stuff like that. Oh man, and today we would lynch people for like doing stuff like that. Right? Back then it's like so different, man, so different. I remember like there would be times where you go like the VCD shop, like VCDs or DVD shops, and there were movies that you couldn't get like in the cinemas.
Oh yeah,
that's great movies,
yeah.
right? Or there would be stuff where like due to like Malaysian cinema censorship and all that, like half the movie be cut out, leaving out entire plot points, and then but when you paid like what 5-8 ringgit for the DVDs, the pirated one, you got the full thing. Mm-hmm. You know, and I was like, okay, like
we probably shouldn't be talking about this on your podcast, but
no, there's no listeners. Like if someone from the government is listening, please, this podcast needs funding.
Right. No, but I think you're right. Some of those VCD sellers, not that I would know, but they are kind of like movie connoisseurs, you know.
Right? You will ask them for recommendations.
Yeah, they're like, it's like they have all the mainstream ones that are playing in the cinemas, and then like there's one other folder that's just like Werner Herzog and
like International Film Festival.
This Abing knows about Werner Herzog.
Exactly. Before the VCDs and DVDs, nobody knew what the hell Cannes Film Festival was. Right. We just knew the Oscars and the Golden Globes, and that was it.
Right.
Suddenly, DVD was like, oh, this one won the Cannes Film Festival awards. This one, oh gosh. And I think that's like a big part of why you have like Chinese people that like to watch like Hindi and Bollywood movies.
Yeah.
I think it's just coming from DVD sellers recommending them stuff because they run out of stuff to watch, right?
It could be.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was The Punisher or something like that. One of these Marvel movies last time. Okay, Daredevil got banned here, right, for like being a vigilante. And like every superhero is a freaking
yeah.
What is this? Strongman is a vigilante.
right.
But then I remember The Punisher. They let it air here in the cinemas. But I think it was The Punisher. It might have been another movie, but there was like the edits they made basically took out an entire plot line. And I was like, and that was the day I was like, man, it's not that I don't want to support like Malaysian cinema and business. I was probably in like early high school or something like that. So, but it was like, why am I paying more to go watch this thing, which is like an edited version, which is not even the true representation of the work. Right. Like nude scenes and all that, okay, I kind of get it.
If you take out a little bit, but you still like, okay, I saw what you did there, it's fine, I still can get the story, then it's different. When they take out a whole chunk and you're like, okay, I could have bought a DVD, but I wanted to be a good guy and I went to the cinemas to support intellectual property, but then I get punished for it, and that does not feel well.
And the other thing was that
Doesn't
like
feel good.
the best thing about DVDs was like movies that had nude scenes in them. The nude scenes thing, and then I remember like being in high school and I was like, whoa! I was like, this movie is great! I love this scene from Starship Troopers where like people are showering and all that. I was like, this doesn't show up in everywhere else. Like, I didn't know that movies had like nude scenes in them. Yeah, and that just started everything.
Yeah, I watched Starship Troopers in Australia.
Yeah.
I was in Australia at the time, and I was like, okay, it's so casual. It's like these people are showering together,
Right.
and it was especially casual in that movie because all the troopers were just like
They're just there.
yeah, all the female troopers, they were like, oh, we are tough, just as tough as men, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This took on a very weird tangent.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, we didn't think we'd be talking about titties in this podcast.
I knew someday we would. It's the standards we aspire to. Oh, but yeah, it was amazing because like having stuff that wasn't edited. I remember like buying my first was not my first. I think it was second or third Limp Bizkit album.
All right.
Chocolate Starfish and the hot dog flavored water. I bought it in cassette form that time, and the best thing about it was that I got it so early when it first arrived at the shores, it didn't get censored yet.
Oh, right.
So this was the album that had the song "It's effed up, bro, in an effed up place. Everybody's effed to the effed up fit," that kind of thing. And then a week later, I went back to the same store. Suddenly, there was a new version.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
Parental advisory, everything over there, and like they
I think there
beeped
was
out, I think.
I think there was a time up until maybe sometime in the 90s when they couldn't really pay attention to every song in every
Yeah, there was just
album
too
that was
much
coming
coming
in.
out,
Yeah.
Oh man,
Thanks. This is nice.
thanks. You're welcome. Oh, but yeah, times have changed. Like and now, like when we were talking about the nude scenes and all that, not that we're gonna dwell on it for too long, but one series in recent history that I found hilarious was Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay.
Because the first season, there was so much nudity
right.
just to keep people interested and rope you in, and you're like, whoa, oh, it's violent, and then it's like, whoa, and then like so much going on, and then like second season, you're like, oh, can get more, right? And it's like, oh, okay, like, or I guess they're more like story orientated now. Yeah, and then like the third one is like, oh, okay, even less. Oh, more story. Oh, they got dragons, and it
Right.
just progressed, and then towards like, I don't know, the last few.
So how did that make you feel? Did you feel cheated? Did you feel like, oh, this is better, or
I kind of felt cheated, but I was like, okay, it's a good show,
right?
right? It's a good show. In retrospect, yeah, there was probably like way too much nudity in like season
You
one.
felt cheated.
Yeah, but to the point where like, okay, I think there's like way too much nudity to the point where it got in the way of the story.
right.
But in retrospect, it helps sell the show.
Okay,
Right?
you got me, guys.
You
You
got
got
me.
me.
Yeah.
You sold it to me as
Yeah.
like a show about titties, and then now there's a story in it.
And then just to be fair, they put a couple of like penises in there as well. Oh man,
I never actually watched Game of Thrones.
really?
Yes. There was a whole bunch of movies. I never really a series, I guess. I never really got into. I hardly ever watch anything. I have a Netflix account, but
Yeah.
there's so many shows I don't watch.
But is it because you have a kid or?
It's because I have a indirectly, yes, because sometimes I feel like I don't have the energy, I don't have the time.
Yeah.
I made this mistake of watching Stranger Things because I was so behind that there was one time I was like, okay, I'll go on YouTube, watch a little bit of this or that, watch some stand up,
Yeah.
or watch stand up on Netflix. But there was a time when like you couldn't get away from the kids from Stranger Things. They were everywhere. They were
everywhere.
like doing rap songs. They were on Jimmy Fallon. They were on every talk show.
Yeah.
So every time I go on YouTube, I'd see them, and so they were talking about Stranger Things, and I was like, what is this Stranger Things thing? And they were actually promoting the second season. I still hadn't heard about it.
Sorry.
So I was like, okay, I'll get into it.
Yeah.
So and then I was watching the first season. They were promoting the second season, and then I made the mistake of watching I thought like, okay, I'll just watch one episode or two, and then I'll go to bed, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh no.
yeah, I woke up in the morning. I was like, I watched the whole first season, and then I'm like, what do I do now? Do I watch the second season? I was like, the sun was coming up. I was like, oh shit, I just watched the whole season.
Oh, gosh.
I realize now what, if you really want to, a lot of the shows that are made for Netflix, they are made like a whole movie, but they're
Yeah.
broken up into like 10 episodes or something.
Yeah,
right?
so there's no way you can really like
Yeah.
just stop, right?
No,
'Cause-
I think if you want to stop, the best way is don't watch until the end of an episode.
Oh yes.
Yes,
That's
you watch
definitely-
until the middle and you're like, okay, that's it. That's the middle of the episode. I'm out.
That's like injecting heroin halfway.
Yeah.
Take it out. I was like, all right.
I know it sounds crazy, but it's actually easier to escape in the middle than
Yeah.
at the end, because at the end they're like, okay, we solved this issue. This hero is okay now, but this monster is
The new
coming up.
cliffhanger, alright,
and,
yeah.
and your other hero is kidnapped now,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh my god, I can't stop here, right?
Yeah, and now that you mentioned it, actually it works because like usually in the middle of an episode they'll try to resolve something
Yeah.
before something comes back. And then that would actually be the best part to stop.
Yeah, nothing is ever fully resolved anyway. There's always
Yeah.
some nagging.
There's always
thing.
something else.
Yeah.
And it's gotten to the point where like I don't even know whether I should watch a show unless like all the seasons are done.
Right.
Like,
So
I'm kind of glad I got into Game of Thrones late because then at least you could just like watch like a few seasons in one stretch and not have to do that thing where you wait for a year plus and then after that you're like, okay, what happened last year? And then do I have to
right.
recap and all. Then you
you,
go on YouTube,
you gotta go back and rewatch the
yeah,
whole season
right?
again.
And you're like, oh man, take up so much time.
Waste your life twice.
Yes, exactly. But now, like, I barely get to watch anything on Netflix or sometimes even on YouTube. My life, in terms of content, right, pretty much all I watch or listen to now are like podcasts because I spend quite a lot of hours in the car. And realistically, you don't want to be like watching TV series and all that in the car, right? Maybe
Yeah.
interviews and all is fine.
Right.
Then at home I got like 2 young kids, so I don't really want to watch like South Park and BoJack Horseman and Rick and Morty in front of them.
Right.
I would as a social experiment, but for their long term benefit, I'd rather not.
That's
and then-
really interesting. It's like we want to do things that teenagers would do, you know?
Right,
But
yeah.
at the same time, it's like we can't do it because we are older.
Right? Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. Because if your kid was like 1, 2 years old, maybe right, because like they don't understand what's going on, right? Like
Right.
okay, maybe I'll just like watch like something. But now it's like anything with like okay, I think this might be violent. Okay, maybe not. Oh no. Like recently there was one. What was the Jim Henson? It had all these like.
They're still
elves.
milking money out of Jim Henson, isn't he? Like dead like 20 years ago or something?
No, yeah, he's dead. But they made like they remade like a series out of a movie he did
All right.
that time.
I'm always a bit skeptical when they say, "Oh, we found these notes that Jim Henson wrote or somebody famous wrote, and then like we're gonna make something out of it." I'm always a bit skeptical when they do that.
I need to find out.
Cynical, I should say.
Yeah. Dark Crystal. Okay, that's the show.
Okay.
Okay, so this show Dark Crystal, it came up in my daughter's like Netflix recommendations.
What the hell?
It's
So in the children's section.
in the children's section. So it's kinda child friendly if your child is like 10 or something like that. Because like and it's very innocent. Alright, so the first episode it's all puppets.
Right.
Right? So it's like so you think, okay, Jim Henson, puppets, like Sesame Street, should be fine, right? Let the kids watch, they'll get them into this puppetry thing and all that, right?
Right.
And we watch, it's like, wow, it's a very big story for a kids show, because they're talking about like, oh, back in the day, there was this thing called there was this world and these elves and creatures all lived happily together. And then these creatures from another land came.
And they ate them.
Even better, they manipulated them.
Oh gosh.
So it's so political, right? So you're like, wow, this is like political commentary but in a children's show, and like, wow, this is so amazing, And then you keep watching, and then suddenly you get to this scene where like one of these creatures, right, is like being hanged, like being like stretched out, and like these creatures like trying to absorb their essence,
Right.
so like murdering them and
Right,
sucking
right,
their
right.
soul, and you're like, ooh, I think this is not a kid's show.
right. You know, I'm actually, I'm really glad that my son made it to 12. 'Cause the things that I'm always like, he's watching a new show, and I'm always like you. I'm always like, okay, this could go well or this could go badly.
Right.
There's some
Oh,
Muppets in
God.
here, but they, we watched. Remember that movie Trolls? This was a few years back.
Oh yeah.
and it's all nice and fluffy. But then the main storyline is that the enemies of the trolls are these other bigger guys.
Yeah.
And they eat the trolls. And I'm like, how could this be a children's show? It's like,
Oh gosh.
I'm like, but then yeah, that's it.
But where do you draw the where do you draw the line? You have that thing where this creature eats the trolls, right? But if it was like a National Geographic thing where a cheetah like goes after a
Right.
gazelle, would you be like, okay, that's fine because that's nature, or like,
I don't know. At some point, you gotta let them grow up, right?
yeah,
But then at the same time, it's hard. You're like, is it now or should we wait a little bit?
Yeah.
That's always the question with me. And I remember my son when he was young, we used to go and eat at Chinese restaurants, and then they have the aquarium in there with all
Yeah.
the fish swimming in there. And it's always a fun thing for the kids, right? It's like, okay, we're gonna eat now. Oh, the food's not here yet. Go and check out the aquarium, and then they go and say, hi fish, hi fish. Then one day he asked me, one day he was like, he asked my wife, he's like, Mom, is this the same fish that we eat? And she had to tell the truth, right?
Yeah.
She's not gonna
it's-
build a whole fantasy around this
Yeah.
one lie, right? So
and
she's
then deep
like,
down your head, like, is he gonna become a vegan after I tell him the truth?
yeah. No,
He's
actually,
gonna get woke.
so she told him, and then he was kind of traumatized a little bit.
All right.
So he was like, but at the same time, we had to kind of talk to him, and he was dealing with it, and he said like, maybe he doesn't want to eat fish anymore. And since then, he still eats fish nowadays. We talked him back into it. But
Has he
but
found out about chickens and pigs and cows yet?
No, I don't know, but
Oh gosh.
it's like, yeah, I'll eat fish, but no, I won't eat fish, but at least I'm eating all this chicken that's coming from
Yeah.
some fairyland.
Yeah.
No, but
when they milk the cows, like minced beef comes out. Oh, man.
no, but for a while he didn't want to eat, and he wanted us to write an email to all the Chinese restaurants. Yeah. So at the time, like we were kind of stuck. We were like,
You have
okay.
an activist on your hands. My
Yeah,
friend.
we were like, we could write an email, but
Yeah.
they are Chinese restaurants. They're not gonna take anything into consideration. They're just all for profit, right?
We gotta write it in Chinese.
Yeah. And we couldn't really bring
Right.
ourselves to explaining that part to
Yeah.
him. We're like, okay, we will write the emails, and I think my wife wrote to one Chinese restaurant just to appease him.
Yeah.
But it's kind of heartbreaking.
So do you guys still go to that Chinese restaurant that you wrote the email to?
No, but we go to other Chinese restaurants. And we go to the ones with no aquariums.
Oh gosh.
Seriously, it helps.
Yeah, it helps, right?
Yeah.
No, but like, okay, this isn't a unique problem. One of my friends, his son, had this issue with chickens. So they went to like, I think it's like farm in the city kind of thing, where they saw like live chicken and all that. And then the next day they had like a chicken meal. So it might not have been the exact chicken or whatever, right? But his son made that connection. I
Right.
was like, oh, chicken, oh, and then like, oh, I don't want to eat chicken anymore, you know.
Right.
And my friend found it amazing that his kid could like connect the dots that way, and like, it was, okay,
Right.
it's kind of his thing. It's like he's got this kind soul kind of thing going on, right? I was like, oh, okay. My kids don't care.
Right.
My kids, when like my brother came, and because like my daughter at that time she likes Peppa Pig, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, it's a nice black Peppa Pig, and she's like, and she's fine. Like I have pets at home, so we have like a few aquariums and all that. So I think maybe she's used to seeing death. Not that I kill my pets, but with fish and all that, sometimes inevitably, one might die or whatever, and she understands. I've brought her to seafood restaurants, and like she knows that, oh yeah, okay, but for some reason I don't know whether it's like
You got a psychopath on your
yeah,
hands.
like inborn bloodlust or something like that.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But I do feel like some kids, I guess it's how you bring them up as well. Maybe you're a bit more traditional. But I do find like some kids generally nowadays are a bit more empathetic and a bit more woke. Maybe.
Where do you get it from? Because
I don't know.
It's not like they turn 15
But-
then they realize.
no,
It's like
but-
from a very, very early age. It's so weird, right?
But if I think about it, it seems amazing to me that we are not more like them. Because how did we like mentally separate that, like, okay, we love pets, and we could even have a pig as a
Yeah.
pet, but then at the same time we are okay with eating pigs.
Yeah.
You know, we could rear chicken, and then we okay with eating chicken.
Yeah.
And then you have some like the sun hog or something.
Yeah.
That could be a meal. You know, that's delicious.
But I have made a distinction of, okay, these are the pets I raised, and I raise them because I enjoy them. It's not because I want to eat them. And then that, like, the meat, fish, and whatever food that we have on the table, right? That all comes at a price.
Right.
You know, like when it comes to like chicken or beef or whatever, like I am very comfortable with the fact that, okay, this animal had to die so that I have something here to eat.
Right.
So the best I can do is not waste it.
Right.
You know, that's my general mentality. Like don't kid yourself.
Yeah.
The rice that we eat and all that, right? We think like, oh no, rice no animal ma, whatever. You think there are no like mice and whatever in the fields. You know, when they send those combines and stuff, you think people are plucking the grains out by hand,
Right,
and
yeah,
not
yeah,
hurting anything. Let's
didn't
not
wanna-
kid ourselves, man. Like,
I didn't even think about it until that.
yeah, but
extent,
blood is everywhere.
Yeah.
And also like all this industrial farming, like it's problematic as well. I know I sound like a cheap version of Joe Rogan by now, but it is, right. Like,
Yeah.
you get like farmland that's not sustainable, or we have to keep adding chemicals, and it's just a vicious cycle,
Yeah,
So
you just have to decide where you want to draw your line.
yeah, exactly. And to me, it's like, if you're gonna be worried about every single freaking thing that you eat, it's gonna be a problem.
I eat like I still eat pork.
Yeah.
But I won't eat suckling pig because my son, when he was young, he made me. I was part of this thing where we pledged not to eat shark fin.
Okay, shark
Yeah.
fin I get, yeah.
And at the same time, my son was like, "Oh, you pledged not to eat shark fin. Good. I'm gonna make you pledge not to eat suckling pig, because a suckling pig is basically the
baby,
the
yeah.
very young baby, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like delicious. So Chinese people love to roast this and eat it, right?
It's also why we eat anchovies.
yeah, but my son is like, nah, it's a baby. We're not gonna eat it.
Yeah.
And so he made me kind of promise not to eat it. So every time one comes, we still order it. Like sometimes, like if we have a big family dinner,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, you know, your auntie loves to eat suckling pig. We're
Yeah.
gonna order it. I'm not gonna eat it, and he's like, that's his compromise. It's like, okay, we'll just order it, and now you won't eat it, and I won't eat it.
Has he discovered balut yet? The duck egg.
I think I told him, but he hasn't seen.
Hasn't
before.
seen it? Okay.
But yeah,
I think that might freak him out.
yeah. It would freak me out, you know.
Oh gosh.
I think yeah. The audio's still okay, right?
Audio's still fine, yeah.
Lately,
First time doing this thing is a bit dodgy.
I've been thinking of eating less meat because
Okay.
because I realized, like, all along I used to think like oh, you need to eat a lot of meat, right? If you're exercising or anything, you need the protein, right?
Yeah.
And I realized, like, now I've been listening to some other people. I don't know how dodgy they are, but like a lot of information I'm getting now is like, oh, you can get protein from vegetables anyway, so you don't really need that much meat.
Yeah.
And then I have it doesn't help that I, like, today my son is gonna be at chemistry class, and I hang out with the other kids who are in chemistry class. I mean the parents of the other kids who are in chemistry class.
You just made it sound so creepy.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
So we are just waiting for the kids to finish their chemistry class. I'm hanging out with some of the other parents, and last week we were talking to one of my friends, Naran Narasya.
Uh-huh.
He sells vegan food. So he's kind of inclined to push veganism a little bit, but
Yeah.
at the same time, he's also a vegan. His whole family is vegan for ethical reasons.
Okay.
So it's kind of like he pushes veganism because he sells vegan food, but he also sells vegan food because he really believes in veganism. You know.
It's through and through and through vegan lah. But
But he was telling us all these horror stories
Yeah.
about, like, fish and how, like, I mean, this is what he told me, so I can't verify
Yeah.
these stories, but like I just heard them, and he was saying like he was on a fishing boat, and then the person, the fisherman,
Yeah.
was telling him like they wouldn't even buy the fish straight off the boat from the fishermen
Yeah.
because they know that what they put into
The fish or the waters.
to the ice, I think,
Oh, the
to,
ice, yeah.
to kind of like
Preserve it, yeah.
preserve the fish. They say they put in formaldehyde mixed
Yeah.
in with water or something, and I heard that I'm like, whoa, this is like
Yeah, there's like rumors about like why aunties won't buy like fish in shopping malls and all that kind of stuff, because they say they'll dip them in. Okay,
Yeah,
again, I
and
don't know
on-
what is true.
yeah,
but,
and on top of that, they have all the like worry about mercury and
Yeah.
big fish eating small fish, and then they
yeah.
mercury builds up.
No, I think like when it comes to like food decisions, right? It's very individual,
Yeah,
because you have people who like, okay, they go on this vegan thing, right? And then halfway through, like, I've had friends who tried to go like full vegetarian and vegan and all that, and halfway through their doctors are like, no,
right,
your body is not able to handle this.
right.
You need to take some form of protein.
Yeah,
The best compromise, if you're talking about cruelty and all that, fish. So they were like, I know, actually I want to be vegetarian, but my doctor says I have to eat some kind of meat, so fish is. So I'm not saying that everybody cannot be vegan, but it's like, there are some cases
there's
where,
some yeah.
if your body cannot do it, then it would be
It
ridiculous.
works for
to-
some people, but not other people. Maybe.
Yeah, but it's not an ideology thing. It's a physical thing. If your
Yeah,
body
yeah.
physically cannot handle being vegan,
Yeah.
then at some point you have to let the ideology compromise a little bit, like so there's a very live and, as much as we're talking about death and all that, there's a very like live and let live kind of thing, right?
Right, right,
Philosophy.
right. He was also telling us about like chicken,
Mm.
how like I think you probably have heard this one before, where
all
they
kinds
just
of
pump
antibiotics,
all kinds of antibiotics and hormones to
because it's
growth hormones, right?
yeah, because the antibiotics, because it's preventative disease prevention, right? Because you don't want to get your entire stock wiped out and all that.
Yeah.
Hormones and all, and also
trying-
selective breeding as well.
No, they're trying to make the chicken grow up fast
Yeah.
so that they could sell them fast.
Yeah.
So he told a story about how this he had this friend who was a pest control guy.
Yeah.
And so there was a pest problem in one of the chicken farms. So they called in the pest control guy. The guy went in and put poison everywhere. And then when he came back to clear up like all the pests, he found like dead rats, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the rats were like the size of dogs. So like
gosh.
so like he's like, there's something wrong with this chicken farm. So he figured out that maybe the rats have been eating the chicken feed and getting all the growth hormones. So that's why we have like, actually the chicken that we eat nowadays, like basically anywhere that you could buy chicken, it's different from the chicken the real kampong chicken that you can get. Those are super skinny. But those are actually, that's the normal size. That's a normal size chicken.
That's chicken that God
Yeah.
intended.
Yeah. Whereas the chicken that we eat is like short and stubby, but full of meat,
Yeah,
full of
because
muscles.
the breasts are way bigger, the
Yeah.
thighs, everything. They're very different animals now. Very
yeah,
different
yeah, yeah.
animals.
They're actually like, this chicken are still kind of like, actually they're not fully grown because they're just like 20 days old, but they're
Yeah.
full of meat. And so yeah, I don't know. The farmers have just been pumping.
It's
lots of-
selective. It's selective breeding and like trying to get the most bang out of your buck kind of thing, right? Like even when you look at corn, like actual corn does not look anywhere close to what it is now, right? Apples are not nowhere near where they used to be.
Yeah.
Lemons don't even really exist in nature. Things like that. But yeah, when we talk about like food supply chain and all that stuff, I don't know. You can call me a very like a doomsday or pessimistic kind of guy, but I do believe that fundamentally a lot of the problems we have on our planet is due to human population. Mm-hmm. That's why when I watched Avengers Endgame,
Welcome to the Bill Burr podcast.
yeah. So I was watching So I was watching like Avengers, the Avengers Infinity War Endgame, right? And the whole Thanos like snapped,
Right.
And half the world disappeared, and half the universe.
Yeah,
disappeared.
yeah, yeah.
I was like, that works.
Yeah.
That works.
And then they went back to kill him because they were like pissed at his ass, right?
And then I was,
and then it's like, okay, you killed me, but I was just minding my own business here,
Yeah.
being a little farmer. You know?
yeah, and I was like, when he snapped, half the population of everything disappeared. I was like, did these people not realize that? Oh, like they mentioned what? Like, like there's no pollution in the waters anymore. It's like the trees are growing again. Like things are fine.
But I'm sad.
Yeah. But and I was like, okay, in the short term, yes, everybody lost someone, right? But if these people who like these Avengers, they claim that they are here to save humanity and all that crap, right? Look at the long game, right? You get a reset for the entire human race, and so now you get to like with all this technology and all that. It's that argument lah, like, oh, if you were given the same knowledge you have now, but you were 20 years younger, what would you do? Would you be? I was like, it is that situation, right? Where you have like the Earth, half its population gone, but the tech and the knowledge is still accessible, and suddenly you have all this free space, right? Suddenly, if you just give it a proper chance, right? It would like you can actually start working realistically on electric cars. You can start working on more sustainable farming, you do not have like half the world to feed,
Yeah.
Like the population, the issues that overpopulation brings us, like the amount of like garbage that's out there, the amount of like single use plastics, the amount of land we have to take for like farming, or whether it's for animal farming or crop farming, it's all to feed this crazy amount of people that have overrun the earth. So when you do that snap,
right,
everybody can have their own farm.
I just thought of something. I wonder if the writers for the Avengers Endgame, I wonder if they watched the Bill Burr specials.
I think they did.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Just lanes opening up on the freeway, Everybody can be in a baseball team.
No, but I think people, if given a chance, like if you had less population, less strain on the system, people are just gonna act more like assholes to cover. Like,
I don't know, like
I'll drink like half a bottle of water and throw it away.
But that's the thing, right? Like probably like right now you have them anyway, and it's probably double the amount.
Yeah, probably.
Right?
Yeah.
So I was like, actually, like Thanos' plan was quite elegant. It was simple and elegant. Of course, being humans, we would like, oh no, just if you want to get rid of half, get rid of the bad half, right? Because we want to judge, right? We want to be judgy about things, right?
Yeah.
But Thanos was like, no, it's just like,
don't get rid of my friends, get rid of someone else's
right?
friends.
We'll do that, right? Humans will do that, but Thanos was like, no, I'll just get rid of like half of everything, like random, keep it random.
Yeah.
This way, everything is fair, right?
Yeah.
It's a very god complex kind of mentality, but it freaking works.
Yeah.
It freaking works.
I agree. We need a Thanos.
Just like snap, and then half the world disappears.
Thanos for Prime Minister.
Yeah, like no one, like then you won't get like people like hunting down pangolins for no reason, that kind of.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, it is I don't know, a lot of all these issues. I really find that really, if it's just if the population was just under control, that
But
so much would be better.
But maybe you have to let things get a little bit out of control so that we realize like, oh, okay, we can't be drinking like, every time we want 500 milliliters of water, we gotta create a plastic bottle for it.
Yeah, right.
So we gotta realize all these problems first, and then we get Thanos in and kill everyone, and then we'd be less of an asshole.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we don't have this strain on the system. Maybe then we do the best of both worlds, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why when the Avengers decided to bring everybody back, I was like, why? You said you want to save the world and humanity. This is the best way to do it.
Right, right.
You removed half of everybody. You start fresh and get everybody. Okay, everyone's made their mistakes, right? You know what mistakes were made. So now, educate.
Right.
And let's move forward and just, move on with your life.
Okay, so the question now becomes, will people learn from their mistakes? Or will people be like, oh yeah, problem solved, we could party now?
You get like a last man on earth situation, right? Where you just get this guy just abusing everything.
Yeah. You could shoot an eagle in the face.
Shooting in the face.
That was from Bill Burr. I
know. No, but it's true, right? Like, I think it would at least give us a bigger margin of error.
Yeah.
But it also gives us like a more potential for positivity. Yeah. So
I'm gonna take a bite out of this cake because I keep ruffling this thing and it's
Yeah, go ahead, man, go
messing
ahead.
up with the sound, right?
It's for you, as long as you don't get like diabetes on my show, it's fine.
That's cool.
We are an hour in, man. Just like
An hour
that.
in, having
Yeah.
too much fun.
Yeah, dude. This
Yeah.
this like is coming off like way better than I
It's
expected.
easier to actually. I think it's easier to have two people talking to each other than
Yeah.
just one person. Yeah.
No, but you gotta have two people that you know.
Thanks. This is really good.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, it's. I do want to bring more people on this podcast, you know, down the line. Some have asked me like, oh, why don't you just get like someone regular, right? And for me to hang out with is okay. If it's gonna be a regular person, then you have that thing where like you always have to make sure this person is available when you want to record and all this kind of stuff. Where right now, my head where it's at now is like when it comes to doing things, I want to keep it as simple as possible so things can flow. Because I'm not so concerned with getting it perfect the first time around. I'm more concerned about just improving things as it goes along and getting better as it goes along. I believe that like if I keep this podcasting thing up 5 years from now, you know, we'll look, if like you come back on, right, and we'll look back at this and like, man, like 5 years ago, what were we talking about?
Right.
Like what?
Yeah,
What
talking about
nonsense?
Thanos.
like from children to like movies
maybe-
and then boobs and then
Right.
Thanos.
and the world might be in a different
And
place
this-
as well.
yeah,
where
right.
it might be a bit more woke, and people will be like, they're talking about killing half the population.
But a fish would be healthier. Like I don't know. But it's interesting, man. Like this kind of conversations, which is like why I wanted to do, to bring people on, especially people in the comedian circle, because I genuinely have a hard time socializing with people, because I don't like, you know, I don't like what do we call it, like
Small talk?
I don't like small talk.
Yeah,
And
I'm like that.
yeah, and a lot of people seem to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, when you get into deeper topics, most people tend to, and the moment there's someone else there or
Yeah,
some
yeah.
other group, they'll
Right.
get distracted, right? But when it's like this kind of format where it's just okay, one to one, person to person, we've dedicated time from our schedule to really just sit down and have a conversation. Then I find it's different.
I think a lot of comedians, we are kind of on a journey to kind of like discover ourselves as well.
Yeah.
We want to find out like what else is gonna come out of this head of mine, right?
Right? Yeah.
So that's why I don't think we enjoy small talk, and we realize like it gets awkward. Like we say, oh, you know, weather's good today, and then the other guy is like, yeah, weather's good, and then that's just like this.
That's it,
this
right?
Awkward
Yeah, this
atmosphere.
awkward-
After
yeah.
that, you realize it, they realize it, and then like you can't do anything with that after that.
But I do think that, okay, like in this kind of setting, I don't know if you felt it, but even there was pauses where I was like, okay, it's a bit awkward. Because like we don't know what else to talk about, right?
Yeah.
But then there's, like in a general public setting or in a normal space, you'll be like, okay, there's nothing to talk. You'll be like, okay, there's nothing to talk about. Let me move on before it gets really awkward. Then,
Right.
Because then it gets weird for both, right? And we don't know what to do, and then we're stuck. But in this situation, it's like, okay, we're kind of forced to talk. Which is kind of nice because, okay, you move past that awkward phase, and the fact that you keep find a way to keep the conversation going, whether or not it touches on topics that are deep or shallow or whatever, but I feel that the fact that you're willing to overcome that hump, like it helps. It means
Yeah.
it means a lot, right? It means that okay, we're trying to stay engaged. We're trying to find out more about discover more about each other, whether it's our opinions or our heads or where our heads are at and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah. You have to get into a space where you're a bit like go with the flow a little bit.
Right? Yeah. And I always find it like very weird with even like after a lot of shows, everyone go for like mamak sessions and all that, right?
Yeah.
I find like the first 1 or 2 hours is still relatively fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's still enjoyable. You still pick up a thing or two. Everyone's like commenting about what happened over the night, during the night, and who did what and all.
Yeah.
But then it hits this spot where like just there's no productivity. There's nothing going on. People are just there because they have nowhere else to go.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah, I don't blame. It's not.
It's
There's
not-
nothing wrong, but it's like
It's not. Yeah, not to. We're not putting anyone
Yeah,
down, but
not-
at the same time, it's kind of like we're all doing the same thing. We're here, and we're not doing really anything.
Yeah.
Sometimes I sit in the middle of a long table, and I'm like, okay, there's a conversation going on to my right and a conversation going on to the left. Let's listen to this one. Nah, not for me. I'll listen to this. I'm like, nah, not for me neither. And then I'm like, okay, I'll wait a while, I guess. Maybe the topic will change. And then before I know it, it's like, 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah. Imagine like going to like a social gather, like a proper social gathering, and all you're doing is like, yeah, right. You're just going to like groups of 3 or 4 people. And like, okay, does this topic work? No. Okay, move on. Do I have anything to say about this next one? Nah, not really. So I was like, can I get in on this one? No.
Yeah.
And you just
I find that because the one thing we all have in common is comedy, right?
Yeah.
So when we're talking about the show or another show coming up, or if we're gossiping about some other comedian who's not there, then at least there's something in common, right?
Yeah.
But then when we start going into our own interests, the other day somebody watched some show that I haven't watched or something, or they're talking about Game of Thrones and I haven't watched it, then I feel like, okay. All of a sudden, it's like, okay, we're not. I thought we had like everything in common, and then all of a sudden, I'm like, okay,
yeah.
actually, we don't
We're
really
different
have.
people, yeah.
We're very different. And then after a while, I'm like, okay, yeah, actually, you just have to accept that
Yeah.
we're all different. It's okay, but at the same time, it's like, okay, if we're gonna talk about comedy, then we got something to talk about. But otherwise, might as well see you at the next show.
right.
Yeah.
It gets really weird that way,
Yeah.
right? And like you came to my house, like you saw like okay, suddenly it's like, there's like fish here and there's like
Yeah.
tea. Like, what it raises a lot of questions. Like
No, it's cool.
like how Chinese is this guy?
No, it's cool. I like that because we kind of have something in common already. So it's like, okay, we have this thing that we can rely on.
Yeah.
Now we can explore other areas about each other that's interesting.
Yeah.
You're a little bit like
It just
me.
sounds like we're trying to get intimate with each other.
Yeah,
It's like,
I think you're a little bit like me because like before you had a podcast, I didn't know anything about you.
Right, yeah.
yeah.
which brings me to this other thing, Olaf. Like we mentioned this earlier, but it's like over the past year or so, because last year my big thing was putting out one video every week.
Yeah.
I managed to stick to that goal.
Awesome.
And
The videos are great.
thanks. And one of the reasons I committed to that, and one big revelation for me for the year before, like about late 2018 when I started the videos, was that the moment you put something in motion, no matter how big or how small, whether you realize it or not, it does set off a chain of events
Like within yourself or
within yourself and somehow in the cosmic universe as well.
right.
And if you recognize that and you do it again, and you keep doing it again, every bit of energy that you put out, it travels, and then it'll come somehow. It gets the gears grinding and the wheels spinning.
Oh yeah.
So like when I started doing my videos, I managed to attract the attention of like a couple of YouTubers and all that. So this guy was like, "Oh, you wanna be my video?" And it's damn cool. And I followed his stuff for quite some time. I love his stuff. I was like, "Oh, cool." And then I got to meet his business partner, this guy called Ernest, who does all the bro, don't like that, bro. And then he was like, "Dude, I've been thinking about doing this project, and your name keeps coming up, but I didn't dare to approach you because I thought you were like this like ominous VO guy in this thing realm." And then I found out, you like to do this kind of stupid thing also. So why don't we work something? Try to explore this thing. I was like, okay lah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then, and the video thing started because of the comedy, the stand up,
Right.
right? Which got me into that zone of stand up is about like creating the jokes and creating stuff, and I was like, there's like tremendous value in that, and there's a very good big feel good factor in that. And I was like, I don't know if at the end of my run I will become a stand up comedian or be known as that, but if one thing I've discovered is that I want my big mantra in life, I guess, now is that I just want to make people laugh,
Right.
right? And from there, I decided, okay, look, if I keep doing this open mic thing and all that, because I do see it as a career opportunity as well, but maybe not fully as a stand-up comedian, but as some form of entertainer or something like that. And I was like, okay, I definitely see myself doing something with this in the future. I need to get better at this. How in the world do I get better at this? Because I cannot just rely on these open mics. Open
Right.
mics are great.
Right.
It's a great platform and all that. But I feel there's so much more to explore.
Yeah.
Right? Because if the objective is to make people laugh, open mics, some nights you get a crowd of 50. There have been times where it's 100. There's been times where it's 20. There's been times where it's 4. There's been times where it's 2. Sometimes it's 0.
Right.
Right? But, if I want to get better at this, I feel like I need to try to tap to a wider audience as well. And I was like, okay, there's this audience online. Obviously there are people putting stuff out. So why, if I come from a mindset of I want to make people laugh, okay, shouldn't I attend to this crowd as well? And if I attend to this crowd as well, hopefully if something good happens and they start liking my stuff, then hopefully at some point in the future, like it translates into some form of bargaining chip or some kind of crowd pull ability or something like that, And so far it's been going pretty okay. The only struggle I have right now is that because my mind is so occupied with the videos and all this kind of stuff, and it's been so locked with working in that realm, that I feel like the stand-up has suffered a bit because I don't go as much. But at the same time, I feel I've improved as well.
Oh no, there will be things that you learn that would be applicable to stand-up comedy that you might not even get to learn by going to an open mic show.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I find that open mics are great, but at the same time,
They shouldn't be the only
they
thing.
can be limiting in some sense because you will be told directly or indirectly, maybe driven by the laughter of the audience or non-laughter sometimes, be like, oh, okay, I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't do this or this other thing. I shouldn't. And then after a while, you are afraid to try a lot of things.
Yeah.
So you will be driven. You will be kind of funneled towards doing a particular type of comedy rather than exploring all kinds of comedy, which is what you're supposed to do at at an open mic show. Because you don't want to bomb, right?
Yeah.
And then you try something, and then it's a bit weird maybe for that night, and then you're afraid. Maybe you try it one more time, and then you're like, okay, this thing doesn't work. I gotta go back to doing the rule of 3, which is like basically every other joke out there, right?
I learned this new thing. I'm gonna use it all the time. Oh my god.
Chinese people eat durian like this. Malay people eat durian like that. And then Indian people don't eat durian.
They just drink. Done. Oh man. Oh gosh, I almost fell into that pit, I tell you. But yeah, I think another benefit of one thing about like doing the content, like the videos and all that, which also led me to doing the podcast, which also like was a stand-up driven thing, is that it's helped me figure out my thoughts a bit better. It's helped me figure out my process a bit better, and also, I think more importantly, it's helped me understand what I find funny and what people find funny.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Because that's a different pulse to read, right? Especially if you're looking at trying to entertain the masses. Stand up, I feel there's always this thing where like, okay, the audience paid
Right.
without knowing who they're watching sometimes.
Yeah.
Alright? So they are going in there with the mindset of, okay, I want to go and see these guys, I want to get a laugh. So they're quite primed. They're quite primed and ready. Right? The general person who's like watching like viral videos and all that probably won't, who doesn't go to the stand-up show, right?
Yep.
When you do stand up for them, they might not get it. Right? So if your objective is to make people laugh, then effectively you didn't really do your job well.
Yeah.
But as an artist, you want to do it, as a performing artist, you want to like, you want to perfect your craft, right?
Right.
So I feel like doing the stuff online and getting that pulse on, I think what works for the general audience helps me
I think
a lot
for
with that.
you have like this need to share these ideas,
Yeah.
and some of these ideas work in a stand-up setting, and they are funny, and then some of these ideas work in a video,
Yeah.
and then they are funny in that
way,
in that context, and it's like it kind of bugs you if you are not able to like get these messages out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I find that I find that like I can get very technical with stand up, like and then what happens with me is I get into a headspace where I know how to write a joke, but I don't know how to appreciate a joke.
Right? It gets into that
Yeah,
zone,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like you,
Yeah, and
you're
then
like, this is funny, but I'm not laughing.
Yeah. And then I'm like, oh, this is good. This has
Yeah.
got a punchline right here. It's got a setup right here. It explains who you are. And then at the end, it's got a callback and technically very sound.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when I'm in that very technical space, I find that I've lost like my ability to discern what is funny and what is not to myself.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, this could work with the crowd, but I'm not sure whether it's funny to me because I'm not laughing. And I don't like recently I stepped back from that a little bit and I realized like sometimes I take a break and then I realize like, oh, I can tell what's funny and what's not funny again.
Yeah.
And that's actually very important to me because then I can see, okay, which premise do I really want to go with? I think this is really funny to me. Let's do this. And I think it's important to have something in it for yourself.
Yeah.
Of course, it's important to please the crowd and make sure that they laugh. But if that's all you're doing and you have nothing in it for yourself, then artistically you're kind of like not really into it. in a
Yeah,
way.
exactly. Because you want a piece of yourself in there, right?
Yeah.
It's not just a crowd pleaser kind of thing. Yeah, it's always that balance, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
And I am also a firm believer of like the more you put out there, the more you start to find out who you are as well, because it forces you to ask questions about yourself, right? And yeah, like that whole premise you mentioned just now, it's that big struggle lah for a lot of comedians.
I find that sometimes I have a joke that I feel almost guilty because it feels like I didn't put any effort into it. It just came to me, and it's funny to me. I know 100% that it's funny, at least to me.
Yeah.
And I have no idea why it's funny because it's like I can't analyze it. It's just funny to me because like it's beyond my ability to analyze it technically.
Yeah.
So it's like it's funny to me, and so I do it. But I also feel like sometimes I feel like, wait, did someone else write this? Did I just like forget where it came from, and then I have to check with other comedians. But those tend to be the best jokes when I don't know why it's funny and it just
there's that, right?
Yeah.
Like I've had this experience, this spell recently where like I was putting out stuff and I was like, okay, I'm not getting that laughter thing for myself. There are bits where I'm like, okay, I like this, I want this because this is me, right? But then there's like, okay, is this really funny? And then I put it out there and it works. And then it's only like days after or something like that, and I go back and watch, I was like, oh yeah, okay, like, that was pretty, I was like, okay, that was pretty good. or like you start talking to people and they're like, oh my god, I couldn't believe that you were so specific about this, and of all the things you found this other thing, and you
and then you use the perfect words for it.
It's like everything fits so well. I was like, whoa, and then you're like, while you're in the thick of it, you're not thinking that. When I think of it, it's like, oh, how do I make this work? How am I fit this and this? I'm going to jam it. And it's like, how? But then, even when you deliver it, you're like, oh, whatever. I just, okay, this is what I have. Just throw it out there. And then, like, days after, you're like, oh, I'm actually quite smart. Huh? Like the fact that, then you start over like last time I put out this video when the Mulan trailer came out. Yeah, and I did like the whole Malaysian Chinese conundrum thing, and one of the first big comments I got, oh my god, the social commentary. I was like, I was like, what social I was like, that's just
did I do social commentary? But then when people realize it, then you're like, okay, I'm pretty smart.
Because the whole time I was like, that was just what I went through,
because if you're in the flow, you won't realize like You didn't set out to be like, okay, I'm going to show them that I can do social commentary. Because
Yeah.
if you start like that,
You're never
you just
gonna
be
do it.
stuck, right?
Right,
You
yeah.
just be stuck. Yeah.
But then you have like comedians who are trying to do that thing, right? They're trying to, okay, I don't want to just tell a joke. I want to comment on something. I want my comedy to mean something, to be bigger and all this kind of stuff.
I think there's two different things. If you really feel like this message has to get out there, that is different from I want to be known as the person who is clever
Yeah.
and doing social commentary. If you feel like you need to do it, then you have a very strong motivation to do it.
Yeah.
If you feel like you're doing it because you want to be something or be someone, then I think the motivation is like it creates pressure, but at the same time you're not really driven in a constructive way.
And I think when it comes to comedy, it kind of also pollutes the comedy, because it's like at its heart it's supposed to be funny first.
Mm-hmm.
And if it happens to touch on a cause, great.
Yeah.
But if you start with the cause first, I'm not saying that it's not going to be funny or it's not perfect, but it feels...
I think you can get a little bit lost. Yeah.
Yeah, like the chances
You're like,
to...
okay, I want to be known as someone who's woke, so I'm gonna talk about, let's say, I'm gonna talk about veganism,
Yeah.
or I'm gonna attack vegans or something, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then you start with that, and then you could go in like a million directions
Yeah.
from there, right? So it's really overwhelming. Whereas if there is one specific thing that you feel like you want to talk about, then at least you have some direction already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas if you start from a point of like, okay, let's say veganism again, right? It's like what's up with vegans, and you start there, right? And you explore the viewpoints and pop. So by the end of it, there will be a social commentary
Right.
on the whole veganism thing, right? But when you approached it, it wasn't from what do I want to say about veganism,
Right.
right? It's more of like, okay, what's up with veganism? Okay, what's going on here? Why are these people like that? And then you address things. You point out the absurd, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then through pointing out the absurd, somehow, after the whole thing is done and it's presented, and then you zoom out and you look at the whole thing, and I was like, oh, actually, I've like this whole veganism thing. I started from here and I ended up commenting on, okay, like they like maybe they think that, oh, like eating vegetables doesn't harm the world or something, and you touch on these things and all this kind of stuff, and suddenly that social commentary arc forms, right? And it's not
where you thought you would go.
it wasn't fully in the plan,
Right.
right? The fact that you picked up that topic, there will be a commentary arc no matter what you do,
Right.
right? I think that if you look at
that's
any
okay.
joke,
Yeah.
if you look at it hard enough, there's always some kind of commentary arc.
Right.
That's the whole point of joke.
Yeah.
Right. The reason it's funny is because it's like juxtaposed with something that it's not supposed to, right? Something like that.
Right.
There's some kind of conflict. So there's always that commentary. But if you start with that commentary and reverse engineer it, feels a bit harder or disingenuous sometimes. But if the fact that you start somewhere and you take
I think it's okay if you start somewhere and you discover that maybe I changed my mind about this thing. Now I really feel this way.
Yeah.
And you're okay with like going with whatever you really feel at that time. I think it's okay.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go with like, what do the people really want to hear? 90% thinks, this way. The other 10% think this way. So I'm gonna go with the 90%. But then it's not really how I feel. But I'm gonna find some way to make my viewpoints align with this 90%. Then I think they can tell.
Yeah, they can tell, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. But yeah, now you've got me thinking about this whole thing about picking the cause, not taking an angle, and then just pointing up the absurd, and then after that connecting it all together. That sounds like a mechanical way to put a bit together.
Yeah. Sometimes it could just be like you get
I'm sure they're
visual thing that you have.
I'm sure they're like seasoned comedians like these two fellas talk for 1 hour plus, and now they're just pointing out the obvious.
No, and then there are comedians who work totally the other way as well, right?
Oh man.
Chiho's probably listening to this. These two fuckers. Sorry, can I curse on you?
It's fine.
Sorry.
It's fine. There's no one listens to this show. It's fine.
He's like, oh man, they're talking about this, because Chiho is totally, I think, like, I really respect him because he can do something that I can't do, which is like, he will just go with Chinese tea. Okay, what can I talk about Chinese tea? And then he will explore like 10 different ideas related to Chinese tea, and then 10 different ideas related to each of those ideas until he gets somewhere, whether he finds a pun or you know, and then he'll find something funny about it. And I've tried doing that, doesn't work for me
The whole
so
like
much.
it's almost like a mind map style kind of thing, right? Yeah.
Because
I tried that as well, and I just like end up with like 5 things and
for me it was like like 5 things and none of them are that great.
But then when you have a conversation with someone about that topic, right, suddenly everything just plays out, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh man.
No, I find I get very lost. Like if I just go in lots of directions, I get very lost. So I just go with like the direction that I feel like is true to me, like my version of the truth as far as I know. Then I'm like, okay, I'm headed in the right direction, I think.
I feel like for me a lot of times like something like I need something to trigger like a brain fart. Then and it just pops out of nowhere, and it's like, and then even when I talk to people, like even the comedians get like sidetracked, like, where the hell are you going with this?
Is that a good sign or a bad sign?
I think it's only a bad sign if I don't follow up. But
I think you're
it's
right.
a nice. It's like, oh, that, like, clearly my brain has put like a tangent together.
Sometimes I worry if like a comedian like thinks something's funny. Because it's like they can see the premise and then they're already laughing at the premise, but I'm not quite there yet with the whole package. And then it's like, oh, okay, nobody laughed, but Harish laughed.
Right? That's the worst part. It's like, okay, why did then you're just, okay, if no one laughed, you're like, okay, it's fine, it didn't work, let's just shut it down or rework it. But if one guy laughed, it's the weird guy, and you're like, okay, something worked. Like, why was this guy laughing? Well, and then with comedians, right, the thing that
you don't even know if they're laughing that you bombed.
Exactly. That's what makes us horrible human beings. Sometimes you laugh, sometimes it's because they get it and they genuinely find it funny, and there are times where like,
I can't believe this guy is like
trying
talking about this weird topic that nobody wants to even hear.
Exactly. Or sometimes you might even get that angle where like, okay, that person is laughing because they get that the audience doesn't get it. Oh gosh. And that my friends, I think that is the eternal conundrum for the comedians. Sim Tong, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Hour and a half, man.
Was it? Oh yeah, because this got stopped halfway.
Yeah, that got stopped halfway, but well, I'll try to fix it in post.
So you're gonna cut out all the bits where we were not that good, and then you're gonna cut it down to like the best 15 minutes, a tight 15.
Do you speak as if like this show has any quality control? It's like zero editing, my friends. Just trying to fix nonsense and all this kind of stuff. This looks like a dinky setup because it is.
It's a great setup. What are you talking about?
Alright, thank you. Like this video is being recorded on my phone. That's why like it like crapped out halfway and like we're continuing it. The audio version will be intact. There will be the ranting bit of the video and all that stuff. But I'll try to see what I can patch in the video and like fix it out. So if you guys don't get like the full video experience, sorry lah. This is not.
Just come back next week.
Yeah. It's a one camera setup with one microphone. Alright, thanks man. Catch you again next time.
Awesome.
Thanks.